We would like to welcome our new sponsor, Nine Lines Wagyu.
Indulge in this exquisite taste of Wagyu beef while embracing its potential health benefits. Renowned for its exceptional marbling, this premium beef boasts a higher concentration of monosaturated fats, including the heart-healthy oleic acid.
Its elevated levels of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids offer a delicious way to potentially support heart health. Savor the unparalleled richness of Wagyu beef, a culinary delight that may align with your wellness goals. Military and first responders get 20% off.
Visit this veteran-owned business at ninelinewagyu.com.
That's ninelinewagyu.com.
The views and opinions of this podcast are solely based off the hosts and guests and are not associated with any agency, corporation, or LLC. Enjoy the show. I feel a beat coming on. Hit it, boys!
Check it out now. Mikey Cliff taking the crown. Podcast kings ain't backing down. Brain and breeze, we run this town. Mike with the wisdom got the facts. Cliff with the chill. Vibe got the tracks. Together they spark.
What's going on, my friend?
I don't know. It's been 3 days and Shadur still struggling.
I wonder if his girlfriend was able to tell the world that she's got the man that can go multiple rounds. How's your team doing?
Oh, we're doing good, man. We got a quarterback in the first round. Mm-hmm. That was positive. I'm very happy about that. Mm-hmm. And then we got a cornerback, and that's basically all I've watched.
We had some exciting trade happen. Seahawks were very busy on day 2. We got an offensive lineman addressed a need right out of the gate, and then we traded up to get that super stud safety from the Gamecocks. I won't pronounce his name. I mean, it's an alphabet name. I don't want to upset anybody by mispronouncing, And then we get a tight end, and then we trade again, and we got Alabama's QB. Oh. So in 3 rounds, we've gotten 4 picks done, and the QB was kind of shocking because we technically have 4 on the roster right now.
Didn't we get somebody from y'all? Didn't we get somebody?
You got Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
He was released in free agency.
Okay.
Good receiver, man.
Yeah.
Small hands.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about that on NFL.com the other day, too, last night. As I was driving around, I was doing some ride-sharing work last night, and I had the draft going, and it was great. Everybody came in. I was like, hey, I'm listening to the draft. Is that okay? They're like, mm-hmm. And we'd sit there and talk. But I will tell you, the talk of the town is Shadur Sanders and how he just continues to fall.
Yeah, isn't that rough though? He was all prepared, like all ready, and man, did he get his bubble burst.
Do you think that this is an instance where parents trying to help their kids is actually hurting?
I don't know. I don't think you really think the NFL teams are thinking about that, or you think he just wasn't.
Really, my honest opinion, and when I say my opinion, it's from what I heard and I agreed with, so I retained, is GMs, coaches, and front offices, they don't want somebody to come in with a big personality. They want a person to sit there, listen, be coached.
Mold them into
what you want them to be. Yeah. But the problem is with the NIL, these kids are already making their brand prior to coming to the NFL. Right, yeah. So they're coming with personality, and his might be overshadowing his draft number, you know what I mean? Right. Like everybody's like, do I want to deal with?
Yeah, you haven't even done anything.
I haven't even taken a snap yet.
Yeah, and then didn't he didn't even play at the combine, did he?
He showed, but he didn't throw. Oh. He did a couple drills, but he didn't throw the ball. Oh. They have been showing Jackson Dart do like this, the Uncle Rico throw from Napoleon Dynamite, where the guy's running, he kind of sidearms it and takes off running.
Yeah, I did see that. So who'd you get from Alabama?
Their quarterback, I can't remember the name off the top of his head, but he's thrilled to be coming up here. And, just for reference, we haven't drafted a quarterback since Russell Wilson.
Oh, wow.
And we also drafted a quarterback. He was a 3rd-round pick.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Alabama, today's guest, Steve Douglas, is an Alabama fan. What do you think about it? You been watching the draft?
Roll Tide, Bo. I don't keep up with it. I watch it late at night. I'll hear the highlights of what happened.
Yeah, that's about.
But I'm just tickled to death that Shadur hadn't been picked.
Oh, you're on the. I think low key everybody is, right. They're just kind of seeing, is he going to get picked up in the 4th or 5th round? And they were talking about the money differences. So if he'd have went in the 5th round, $15 million contract. Mm-hmm. If he goes in the 4th round, he'll be lucky to get $4 million.
Oh wow.
He's actually probably going to be making more in college than when he did taking his first snap in the NFL.
Wow, dude.
I'm just wondering what's happening behind the scenes with his dad calling teams right now.
Oh, do you think he's calling?
You know it.
Prime time.
You know
calling
it.
people. He's
Why are
calling
you passing on my
everybody.
son?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that could be part of the issue.
That's why I was saying, do you think parents being involved trying to help actually can hurt?
Well, the kid could actually play. He can play, but
Yeah, you think he's?
I don't think he's in the top 10 in the country. As far as quarterbacks go.
Right.
But
Do you think that he has more skill than what's his name? Is it Jackson Dart?
Dart. Yeah.
I have no clue whether he does or not. I wouldn't want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's good or not.
Yeah, you should have watched us during the NFL draft. We had to tell people because we were live. And so we really don't, we were commenting on how these guys that are commenting on the draft just can talk about all these kids at length without any script, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what he did. And this is, and he reminds me of this and the way he can open his hips. I didn't know that was turn the hips. That's a new
Right.
term.
You got
Yeah.
You got to turn them hips.
to have good hips.
You got to have them good hips. And so it wasn't until we were on the wish.com version of the draft coverage. And then when we finally were able to get on the NFL, we found the secret. We were just reading what they were putting up on the TV.
They were just putting a bunch of stats up.
Yeah, so we were just pairing it. And
Hey,
boy,
Mike, did you know that he ran for 553 yards?
I didn't know that, but I did know that he had 11 tackles per loss in each game.
What?
Yeah, that's amazing, right?
Look at
This
that,
kid's
Steve.
great.
Look how good we are, Steve. We're
Hey,
wonderful.
fake it till you make it.
That's right. My woman's been saying that for years.
Good grief.
You know how I roll.
Man.
So we got Steve on. I'm very excited to talk to Steve. I've been wanting to get him on the show for a long time because Steve has done it all. He's sort of like me. He's been in a band. He's wrestled, professional wrestled. Now he's doing caricature art. So he's a jack of all trades. So Steve, let's start out you in music. When did you start playing?
1973. I don't know if you remember these books that used to sell in music stores, Mel Bay music books.
Yep.
It came with a little plastic record in the back so you could put it on your record player and you could tune your guitar to the record.
Yep, I remember that.
And then on the other side, you had 3 songs. On Top of Old Smoky, When the Saints Go Marching In, and the 12-Bar Rock. And I learned all 3 of those songs, and I thought, man, I got this. I can do this. And my dad had bought me a little electric guitar from Sears back then, and I was doing it. And then about a year later, I met a guy at Eglin Air Force Base where my dad was stationed. And he was a guitar player big time, and he could play. And he taught me bar chords, He taught me, he couldn't teach me lead because he didn't know anything about it. But he gave me a book that he had made with all these songs in it and how to put the little chord changes above the words and all that. And I started playing. And my first book I bought as far as playing music was Jim Croce.
Okay.
And my first song I really learned to play in front of people was, besides Folsom Prison Blues, was Bad Bad Leroy Brown. This is old stuff.
Yeah.
And I learned how to play songs like Junk Food Junkie because I always liked the comedy type of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started. And the little guys lived down the street from me, had a little band, and I tried to play drums with them. I wasn't a very good drummer. I learned real quick that those songs last 3 minutes, and they want me to play drums that whole 3 minutes. And I was like, no, man.
You ran out of gas?
Yeah, about a minute and a half in, I'm man, come on, man.
Once again, we go into my sex life. Everything relates. Everything relates.
But then I started playing bass. Guys said, why don't you try to play bass a little bit? And so I tried that, and I wanted to give it up when I had blisters on all 4 of my
Calluses,
fingers.
yeah.
No blisters from the first time.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't stop,
Yeah.
And this girl that lived down the street from me, she was popping the blisters on my fingers. And then I wrapped them in tape and went back the next day and played again. And I played bass with them for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
It was fun.
Everything relates to my sex life.
Yeah.
So you stayed playing bass, but really your heart was in guitar?
Right. Then shortly after that, I moved to Germany, 1977 or 8. And believe it or not, the whole time I was there, I didn't even play.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
play anything for 4.5 years.
Well, what took you over to Germany? And
My
by the
fault.
way, that's when there was still 2 Germanys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was, right. I got stories about that if you want to hear those,
Yeah.
with terrorists at Munich. Anyway, we went to Germany 4.5 years. I was 20 years old at the time. I wasn't going to go, but at the last minute, things just fell apart where I was at, and I was, well, I'll come on and go.
Was this your parents that were
Yeah,
moving there?
my dad was in the service. He
Okay,
was Air
gotcha,
Force,
gotcha, okay.
stationed at Simbach Air Base.
Simbach, gotcha.
Beautiful place, man. Beautiful place. They tore it down recently, but it's a beautiful place to live. I got involved in martial arts when I was over there and did that mostly. Met a guy that was a Hawaiian guy, and he was teaching classes on Ramstein Air Base and Simbach Air Base. We did that. Plus, he was an avid snow skier, so we went skied a lot. We ended up being good friends, for 4.5 years, and it was just a great time, great 4.5 years for me, And you talk about that hip thing a little while ago, and that's all martial arts back,
Yeah, but that's
and
what
it all
made
comes
me
back
think
from
of,
that.
yeah.
But I didn't play at all while I was over there. And when I moved back here in '81, I picked it up again. I just ran into guys that wanted to play. Over there, it didn't have that many people.
Right.
And I started playing rock, beach, and country with a group out of Sumter called the Harold Jordan Band. And we played together for, I'm going to say 12 or 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And, most bands don't last
No.
2 or 3 years. And the bluegrass group, I left them and I took another break. And then in 2000, I went with Slope Valley, which is a group based out of Hartsville.
This bluegrass also?
Right.
Okay.
And matter of fact, 3 of the guys I played with in the last 2 years have passed away. There's only 2 of us left. And the other one is Kenny Cassidy, lives up in Churchville, plays a dobro like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy can play. And
I
we
got a
did-
question for you. What's the difference between bluegrass and country? So, like, there's a lot of people that I know what bluegrass is, but like if they hear they don't understand what that genre is. But it's not country.
Bluegrass is what country used to be.
Yeah,
Sort of
like
derived from
banjo-ish.
Right. And what you hear now on the country station is not country,
Right.
Country is people like George Jones and Merle Haggard and, Waylon Jennings,
Yeah.
David Allen Coe. Those are the real country people. It was just
George Strait fall in there.
George Strait,
Okay.
Alan Jackson,
All
both
right.
of them. Both of them.
Yeah,
fall
it
in
kind of lost its identity towards like the 90s, right?
Matter of fact,
into the
George
90s.
Jones, my son-in-law used to work for George Jones in Nashville, and he said that there's only 2 country stars left in Nashville, and that's Alan Jackson and George Strait.
Yeah.
And George was the deal.
Yeah,
George was
real.
the real deal.
I've seen him in concert. He's amazing.
Yeah. But I got my son-in-law to autograph a buddy of mine went to a George Jones concert in the 70s, and he had the flyer. And he come to me and he said, "Could you get your son-in-law to get George to autograph this for me?" I said, "Sure." So I went up to Nashville, and I said, it took him a couple weeks to get it done, but he did get it done. And the guy lives in Lawrence, South Carolina.
Happy.
He'd do anything for me I wanted him to right now. Man, I can't believe you got this signed for me. And then he called me 2 weeks ago and said, "Man, I think I got this thing sold."
Oh, he's trying to sell
Now
it.
you're
now.
going to sell it now.
That's gonna be bad, or it'd be like, son, what's this test?
But
Look what I did, Dad.
he took me to George's house one time when I was there, and George wasn't there. But we pulled up in front of these big gates. That matter of fact, my cousin out of Winsboro built the gates for him. And we pulled up the gate, and I thought, man, this is nice, He said, well, wait a minute. He rolled the window down, hit the code. We went through the gates.
Oh,
went up
wow.
Around, went through the big Butler building that's got all the John Deere mowers in it. That they get John Deere gives him one every year.
Oh, wow.
And went through the cook shack, went through the practice stage, went through the Butler building where they keep the bus, and all
That's
the stuff.
cool.
And he's had his license plate on his car said no show. Which
Yep.
but
So when you were playing for these bands, like you played bass the whole time?
no. With the Harold Jordan Band, I started out at bass, and then I met a guy that taught me how to play piano. And within 6 months, I was playing keyboards with them. I had a JX1 keyboard, Yamaha DX7, and a Sonic Mirage, all in a rack. And I had all kind of program sounds I could use and things like that. But I actually like playing the DX7 because it had the what I like to call weighted keys piano. It's more of a piano action, you know. And he told me he'd been playing piano all his life. He said I picked it up faster than anybody he ever knew. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I felt like I was getting over pretty good. You know, I'm what you call a one-handed bandit. I don't play as good with my left hand as I do the right hand.
Sounds like me playing the bass.
Beat me to it.
Well, that's me.
I was going somewhere
you were
else.
Somewhere, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. What kind of show is this? I think every male has been a one-handed bandit.
Hey, what are you talking about?
So I sort of see a consistency. Like I see you, like you're, and we'll get to your art later on. But it looks like you're always learning, and whenever you do decide to do something, you always hit it 100%.
I'm straight. I dive into it like crazy. My wife just shakes her head sometimes. anything I put my mind to, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
If I got to go out and meet, if I try to surround myself with people that do the things that I like, that way I can get in there and learn from them. You know, and
What's some of the non-traditional instruments that you kind of learned?
Mandolin is something I really wanted to. That was the first thing I went to after guitar.
Can I tell you
as
that's
far
my
as bluegrass.
favorite instrument?
Sure.
To hear on, like, I don't want to sound Bruce Ormsby and the Range. Like they kind of cornered, or I think showcased the mandolin a lot in a lot of their songs. I loved how that thing sounds.
Yeah, I just played a mandolin this weekend. My dad plays mandolin.
Does he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he plays guitar, but he also plays mandolin.
I have
I don't even understand.
I had a Kentucky mandolin when I first started. Then I bought a Gibson F5G out of a place called the Music Outlet in Sevierville, Tennessee. And I played every mandolin on the wall until I picked out the one I wanted. And then I went to the Gibson showcase. It's in that mall where the Opry is, where it flooded that one time. Yep. And I'm holding a mandolin that was sitting on the counter. It was on a stand. I said, man, that thing sounded good. I said, man, this is good. How much is this? She goes, oh, that's $26,000. I said, here.
Yeah, I don't even want to
before I drop it.
Yeah.
You know, but the one that I picked out is the one I still have today. It's a little bit road worn. Probably needs a fret job, but it served its purpose for 8 years, and people, they love it. They say it's that chop. There's no drums in bluegrass, but you get that chop. And it's got that deep chop. It's the offbeat from when the bass is doing
cut
at the
up
same
under
time.
it. Yeah,
and that was I probably spent more time on that than I did anything else. And the good thing about the mandolin is if you want to go to the fiddle after that, it's the same fingering.
Okay.
But it's tuned the same way.
So do you play fiddle too?
A little bit.
Oh, really?
A buddy of mine out of over here in Elgin, Mike Irvin, taught me some shuffles. He plays fiddle. He taught me some shuffles. The bowing is the hardest thing about fiddle. Fingering is easy,
Because it's the same as what you're used to.
pretty much. And but the bowing is the big deal. There's only two kinds of fiddle players, good and bad. There's no in between. There's no in between. And I was in that in between stage for about 2 years. And then when I sat down with him and he started showing me some bowing stuff, it just started coming along, And then I'd go sit in the back room at the bluegrass places and just jam with people, stuff like that. But I've never played fiddle on stage. But
They used to have didn't they used to have a little jam band in Camden? Didn't people used to have a little picking parlor over there?
I don't know if they, bluegrass?
Well, I mean, it was just.
Oh, there's a place out there on Old Stagecoach Road where some guys get together here on Wednesday night and play. And I've been meaning to go out there, but I just had that time.
Yeah.
I'm stretched out.
Yeah.
I'm retired.
Yeah.
I got a lot of sitting to do.
Yeah.
Laying around, watching TV,
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I know that you don't want this interview to be about this, but I have to ask about the wrestling. Like, okay, you've done your music thing. How in the world? Well, you sort of touched on it. I mean, you did do some martial arts. Yeah. Is that what sort of got you into the wrestling, or what? How did wrestling come around?
Had some friends that were doing it. I've always been a fan back in the 80s.
Right, yeah.
Not this new stuff. I could care less about what's
Right.
going on now. I don't think this is what they're doing now is wrestling. I remember the old school guys.
Yeah, we're old school. I mean,
And they one night they needed a referee and asked me if I'd go. And it didn't even have a regular referee shirt. All the stripes went this way, which made me look bigger than I really am, and which was good at the time because I was still smaller than all the guys in the ring, you know.
Right.
So I went, and they said they tell me exactly what to do, when to do it. So I did exactly what they said, and next couple weeks came around, they needed somebody again. I went and got to meet Fabulous Moolah while I was there. And it was her show. She owned the show. And next thing I know, she's calling me and asking me to go do her matches.
Oh, wow.
So I got to go spend a little time with her and the great Mae Young and Diamond Lil, Donna Christiantello, all of those girls, Leilani Kai. And it was good. And then got into the gym and started working out. Next thing I know, she goes, well, why don't you try it? See if you like it. And it didn't take much coaxing,
Yeah.
and I got in there and I had fun. I made some mistakes, you know, you go in there, there's a certain, you're working with each other to make
Right.
things look good, but sometimes you fall short, and they'll let you know too, man, either in the ring or in the back afterwards, they'll let you know to your face, hey,
get on
we're
your
supposed
ass.
to do this. You didn't do that. I'll tell this story. I shouldn't, but I'm going to tell it. But I don't know if y'all know the name Sheldon Benjamin. He was big WWF about maybe 8-9 years ago. He was Mr. Orangeburg bodybuilder type, and I had to work him one night. We had a setup finish that we were going to do, and I kept calling it over and over and over again, and he just was not going to do what I said, man, just put me in a full Nelson. Just put me in, I'll give up. I promise. Just put me, let's get out of here, because we'd been in there like 30 minutes, and he's just, every time I called the spot, he wouldn't do it. And he got, how'd I do? Man, you didn't do well at all. I'll clean it up. You didn't do well at all. Okay.
I gave up drumming because I didn't want to drum.
And he got mad. Statute of Living. That's the last time I ever saw him. Next thing I know, he's a big name in the WWF. I was like, good grief.
Oh, wow.
So how do you guys have that conversation in the ring on
Just like we're talking right now. You just don't hear it.
you just don't hear it? Like when you're clinched up, you talking?
that too. That too. You see a lot of guys back in the 80s, 90s, their hair would fall down. That's when they're talking. Here's a good story. I did TV taping for the WWF, and I wrestled these two guys, Demolition. I don't know if you remember them. Painted their face, looked like Road Warriors, kind of like. Right. Well, one of them hit me with an elbow right at the beginning of the match, and I don't remember nothing after that much. They chewed me out in the back afterwards, and I said, you know what? Give me a break. But that was my initiation. They beat the tar. I had a video of it. It was online for a while, but I don't think it's on there anymore. But oh my God. I remember laying out in the ring, and my partner, Scott Casey, he's from Dallas. He said, man, you need to act like you're hurt. I said, man, I am hurt.
There ain't no acting here.
Yeah. So anyway, before I went on, you had to have EKG done and everything. That was one thing about the WWF. I don't know about all the steroid crap. I wasn't around there during that time, so I don't know. But I'm laying on one table getting an EKG. The guy who is now known as the Ultimate Warrior is on the other table.
He's dead now.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's on the other table, and we're both hooked up to these machines, and the doctor comes in, and he looks at me, and he says, are you on any medication? I said, no. He goes over to him. He said, are you on any medication? He said, yeah, I'm taking testosterone and Decadurabol. He said, well, you do know if you do that, you're supposed to get a liver scan every 6 weeks. And I'm going to clean it up again. He basically said, well, I didn't ask you for your opinion.
Oh, yeah.
He was
rough.
nasty. And I thought to myself, please get me unhooked from this thing and let me out of here. Because he was irate when he said it. I mean, he was losing his
He was
mind.
getting some of that rage.
He had that roid rage going.
Yeah, exactly. And we tell you what this cat do. On his birthday, he'd eat a little sliver of cake. That was it. And if he wanted something sweet, he'd take a chocolate chip cookie, do it in his hand like that, go. That's how he got his sweets.
Oh, wow.
He would when it come to his body, Nothing was going to go in there that didn't belong
Don't give
there.
this guy any ideas.
Except, except
For Roy's. But
Right.
But let me tell you, I don't know if you've seen there's a little show on Netflix now where they're actually talking about that.
Yeah.
It might not be as bad as what a lot of people said, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pros and cons to all that mess. I'll be honest with you, I did them for six months. I went from 230 pounds to 280 pounds. And I felt good. I was in good shape, but then
Coming off's hard though, right?
not really. Just, you know, you got to take, you know how you take just a little bit and start building up, and then you come back down. And that's what I did, because I wasn't going to take any chances, because I knew people that were friends of mine that I had, or not friends, but people I'd met in the business that had just went back to the locker room and died because they weren't working out and doing what they're supposed to do when they were taking them.
Okay.
And I was going to make sure that I wasn't a statistic, that I wanted to be something else later on.
If you look at the wrestlers now, man, like the older wrestlers that we grew up with, Marty Jannetty and those guys.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like Rock and Roll Express, like all of them are hurt, and of course they're old, but man, what a pounding on your body.
I remember my dad used to pick me up at the airport and take me straight to the chiropractor's office. And because I couldn't move, I was twisted around some kind of way. I took a back bump one night and got whiplash. And I'm trying to figure out how, you know, I'm in the gym all the time, how I get whiplash.
Right.
But sure enough, you know, I guess I didn't train hard enough, you know.
What kind of what was your outfit of choice? Like, what'd you wear?
I wore just small tights and boots and knee pads.
Go ahead.
Here we go. Yeah. He's
And,
been ready.
Tell us more about this outfit.
I
Did
wore
it have
the nice little ring jackets. I had those.
Oh, yeah?
I had a gi top one time. Then I started wearing the sparkly thing with the Superfoot thing on the back.
ooh, sparkly?
And when I'd pull my knee pads, I'd always pull them up real slow.
Yeah, now we're
Ghosty.
talking. Now we're talking.
Hey, you know what? I think about this. I couldn't do it, man.
That was good.
I couldn't wear those. I couldn't wear those briefs, dude. I look like Ken doll.
Yeah, that's right. You
Oh,
mentioned
man,
that before. Yeah.
Little.
I wore them because I was old school, and everybody else was wearing spandex, and they didn't look good in spandex, and whether they had it on or not. And they were, well, some were wearing jeans. You know, some guy down in Florida was wearing cut off shorts, like hot pants, blue jean hot pants. I was like, well, I definitely can't wear that.
Did you? What was that movie that just came out that had Zac Efron that had?
Oh
the,
yeah, the Von Erichs.
yeah, the Von Erichs. Did you have
I
a
saw
chance
that.
to watch it? What did you
I
think
saw
about
that.
that? Because that's kind of during you were kind of entwined in that same.
Yeah, that was their family. That's what they did. You know,
It's so sad though, man. What a
everything
tragedy.
with that family was sad,
Yeah,
basically. And you know, and I don't differentiate which one was, but the one they called the Texas Tornado.
That was,
He had the look.
That was Kerry.
He had every look. You know, he had everything going for him, and then he ended up screwing up his foot.
Right.
He had to take part of his foot off or whatever, or ankle or something. And I felt so bad for him, you know, just hearing about it. Right. And but he was a total package.
He was, man.
He'd have been the one in the WWF chasing Flair or Hogan, you know,
Yeah,
had he stayed with it, you know.
He and I look at his later matches and I'm trying to see the limp, you know, because he wrestled with half a foot.
Right.
I always watch his matches and see, but he did go to the WWF for a small amount of time, but then I think then's when it really
He went and did
down.
the Tokyo tour, right?
I think so, and then after that he
You know, Big Papa Pump was the same way with his ankle. You know, he couldn't hardly get around at all.
man,
you know,
what some arms.
I was when I was up there, met Ken Patera. He barely made it to the ring just to put a guy in a full Nelson to leave.
Oh.
That's all he could do. He couldn't do anything else. And I remember checking on him after he come back. Man, are you okay? You need anything? No, man, I'm good. You know, but
How sad! Like wrestling is a sad. I mean, it's a sad business, man.
You never stop.
No,
They're on the
they
road.
say once you're in, you don't get out.
Yeah,
you know, which I proved that wrong. I got out. You know,
yeah.
Question for you: what was the finishing move?
for me,
Yes, sir.
you know, that's a good question. I used to do the spinning back kick.
Okay.
It's more like karate. They call it a crescent kick. I used to do a back kick, but the guy said I hit him too hard. Please start doing a crescent kick. I said okay. So I would throw him into the ropes. When he'd come off, I'd jump up there, spin around, and catch him right here. And that was it. That was my finishing move.
Yeah. Did you like call it? Like,
Oh, yeah,
would
yeah,
you tell people
take
that
it
no,
home.
it's here it comes.
No, take it home.
Yeah.
Take it home. We're going home. That's it. You know, you had your start. I should be telling all this, but it's it's kayfabe there is gone. You had your start, you had your high spots, you had your finish. You know, you called them each. You know, whoever you work with. Like if you work with a guy like I worked with Wahoo McDaniel several times, and he was just a pleasure to be in the ring with. You know, he was a great guy.
Yeah,
and. You just knew after about 4 or 5 matches what was going to happen. You know, we never did the same show in the same town, so we were always somewhere else.
Right.
So do the same show every night. You know, they didn't know. You know.
Right.
But it looked good. You know, it looked good. And see, I worked people like Junkyard Dog.
I remember him.
He was another guy. He was just a friendly guy. You know, loved to talk, loved to hang out. I went to McDonald's with him one night, and he had 3 Big Macs, 2 large fries, and a small Coke.
Thump.
I said, well, why you get that small Coke, though? He, well, I got this one to wash it down.
So all right. So we've done your music, and then you went into wrestling, and then what's the next? I know where you are now, what you're doing now, but besides semi-retired,
Yeah.
he's still doing his art.
It sounds like you just
Well, you
got
know-
hobbies to keep yourself busy. Like you're going after the things you find interesting.
Well, we have a mutual friend, Steve Carver.
Yeah.
He told somebody, he said, that Douglas is going to live to be 200 years old. He's done everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Really
And it's
have.
true. I probably have. I've done a lot of things.
But I got something here that says you got into being a magician too.
Oh yeah, I did the close-up card magic. I did that from 97 till around 2007.
Oh, wow.
Just for fun.
What's that? Like if we gave you a deck of cards, would you be able to show us something?
Oh, I'll blow your mind.
Audrey!
Is it? I want it sealed. Is it sealed?
No, we probably don't have a
okay.
seal. So it sounds like you're an entertainer, though.
Yeah.
That's what I've
overall-
always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be an entertainer. I've tried talking to agents about auditioning for plays and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That never really came through.
Being a entertainer. You like entertainment because you're also a funny dude. You never did comedy because you're a funny guy.
I was asked. I had a buddy of mine asked me to go do 5 minutes at the Punchline in Greenville. This is years ago, and I didn't go. And I wish I had gone.
Dude,
I believe I could have done it.
Oh man, this guy, like he just comes up with them right off the bat, dude. You used to come up with like just little jokes.
Well, with the bluegrass group, every night we had 3 or 4 sets a night. It depended on where we were playing. And even if it was what we called the super set, which was everything, it's the same, the same songs, the same jokes in between songs all night long.
Right.
So you're entertaining the crowd the whole time, So it's kind of got natural of being in front of people talking and telling jokes. And I mean, I've had people squirming and about to pee on themselves on the front row telling jokes. I said, you must not get out much, man, because these are not that good jokes.
Cliff's done stand up.
Huh?
Cliff's done stand up.
He has.
Yes. I don't know if you've been in the virtual world using Facebook's Oculus.
No, I haven't.
So they have these little areas you can go to where people congregate, and one of them is a virtual comedy club where you pick your button and then you can go up on stage and.
Really?
Oh yes, yes.
Is that true? Is that true?
I'm. What would the kids say? On God, right?
Oh, God,
Yeah.
you did.
On God. So Cliff went up there, and I've never seen a grown man tear down because you're an avatar, you can make how you look,
Right.
and everybody in there I think had the average age of 12, and Cliff went through and made fun of every one of their avatars, and he could be the kids, Mama,
He was-
this guy
he was-
getting funny.
Well, I guarantee he was looking for a thinner one. Can you draw me thinner? Well, yeah. But I always thought, when you get up there, you just be yourself.
Right.
Introduce yourself. Hey, glad everybody can make it out tonight. Then you start something about you where you say, I like to say, today I've been married 34 years.
Have you been married 34 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, not today, but I'm just part of the show, And when you say something like that, people start applauding, right?
Right.
And then your next line is, well, she won't leave.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they say, it's like Stephen King books years ago, which I don't care for Stephen King that much. But anyway, he said, if you can't scare them to death, gross them out. Okay.
Right.
Well, if you can't make them laugh, shock them.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it, when you're talking to somebody. And I always push the envelope when I'm big time, and I have to be real careful. It cost me a job once.
Now we have to. We understand. We have to be measured on we have ideas that we want to do that are kind of along the same lines, like shock.
Yeah.
But we can't do it because of our normal lives,
Exactly.
So
I understand.
We've made the determination that once we retire here in the next, whenever we do that, we're going to rename the podcast like The Gloves Come Off or something like that.
Right.
And that way we can be 100% ourselves and what we want to do.
I sure would like to help you guys with that. Man.
I love dick jokes, but I'm not allowed to tell dick jokes.
No.
I just insinuate that I have a small. Well, I do.
Well,
Steve showered with me.
I'm hung like a Tic Tac. I'll be honest with you. But your sister has fresh breath. Anyway.
All right. So, what about the magic? Can you do a trick for us? Or
Yeah, we have a.
I can do one. How you want me to do it? I mean,
but just
Do you
sit
need?
there.
You can sit there and you want to. Let's pause for a second.
Yep.
Let's widen up his shot.
Okay.
I just need you to just make it flat. Okay. How old are you? 13. 13? And your name is Audrey? My name was Audrey when I was 13. Anyway. All right. Here's the ace of spades. Put your other hand on top of it. Okay. You good? All right. Here's the ace of clubs. I'm going to slide it underneath, okay? Okay, you ready? Which one's on top, the ace of clubs or the ace of spades?
Spades.
Huh?
Spades.
Spades? Okay. What about now?
Spades.
You think the spades is still on top? Okay, let's see. The clubs is on top, the spades on the bottom. You've got this. You've got the red ones over here.
Oh wow!
Well done.
Good job.
There you go. Thank you.
That's it.
Awesome. So we've went through bands, playing in the bands. We went through wrestling. We went through magician. Hey, real quick, can we just circle back to you in Germany? How was the red light district back then?
It was busy. I didn't go to the red light district. Well, not if that music's hitting. Maybe I did drive through there, but it was called the 40 Mark Strasse.
Okay.
And in the summertime, they would all line up on this one road in their bikinis and high heels, and they had one out there named Angie. That thing was beautiful.
Ooh, Angie.
Oh. But if you had a green American tag on your car and you pulled up, they just wave you off. They didn't want nothing to do with you.
Really?
Yeah. The girls over there had to have like a health check done every month. They had a card and all that.
It's a business.
It was legal. It was legal
Right.
over there. And but no, I never partook. I was a good guy back then. I hate to say it, but I was.
I was too. I would have never got married if I lived over there and I had that.
Well, I was waiting for you to break into song about.
Oh,
Yeah.
when I went to the red light,
They
they said you're big.
But it was women of all ages.
Yeah.
It wasn't just young girls. It was
Oh, wow.
older girls, heavy set girls, thin girls, but I didn't. I just passed by. I enjoyed looking at them in their bikinis on the side of the road. That was nice. But
So you were 20 though, right? You were in your 20s.
I
So
was 20, between 20 and 23.
so when did you meet your wife? Like, how many times have you been married?
This is my second time around.
Okay.
The first time was bliss.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really. That's another story all by itself. Wrote a song about her called "She's Got Her Daddy's Eyes and Her Other Daddy's Smile." But I met Donna, and believe it or not, I had a karate school in Winsboro, and she would drop her kid off. She was married to some other guy. She'd drop her kid off at class, and I'd always walk out there and talk to her. And she was shaking. You could tell she wasn't comfortable with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 2 or 3 years later, they got a divorce, and next thing you know, we're talking, and we got married in 1991. We've been together ever since.
Wow. I
She's-
couldn't imagine putting up with Steve for 30 years.
2001, we went to my high school reunion, and one of the girls in my class told her, "You must be a very tolerant woman."
For
And
real.
she is. She is. She's put up with a lot. She she's always been there. She's the only woman I ever know that stands behind me and, encourages me to do things,
Yeah.
Oh,
But
You
must be nice.
Yeah, you have to have
Yeah.
patience to put up with someone because you know what? We're a lot like you. Like even this podcast, like we just said, hey man, we should do a podcast, and then boom, like it just happens,
Well, when you first told me about it, I was impressed with it. I said, man, that's cool. Because that's something I've always wanted to do, But I wanted to do more politics than anything else on mine.
Yeah, that's once again we're kind of. I think later we'll start diving into the things that we were like. Not saying that. I mean, every guest we have on is really interesting. Like they have a story, and that's what we try to get to right now. Is that your neighbor that you barely talk to probably has done some extraordinary things in their life. Like
Right.
there's probably people that know you or know of you have no clue.
Right.
This interesting life that you led, that if you had a chance. So trying to bring that out in people is rewarding, but there's sometimes you just want to talk about, you just like,
Yeah, we don't talk politics, but I don't talk politics when I go to work. I try to.
yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Well, you
Same.
can't.
You're right. I mean, you do get judged. I mean, he works for someone also that you really have to watch what you say because listen, people nowadays can't take a joke.
Nope.
And they're so serious. Like you can't really have your own viewpoint.
Exactly.
Sensitive. Sensitive.
Because you got 14 people standing around you looking for a reason to be offended.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? But I'm the person that don't mind offending you. I'll
Right.
be honest with you. 'Cause if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to what I got to say.
Right.
Walk somewhere else.
Right.
Free country and go where you want to go.
Right.
No, I tell people to fire away all the time.
Yeah.
Like I give, but I can get at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially with the friend group I run with. You got to have some thick ass skin.
You got to be thick.
Oh man. If you don't have thick skin with some of the guys I hang around with,
Yeah.
oh my God, they'll
Yeah, you
eat
get crushed.
They'll eat you up.
But there's a study showing, I just read the other day. So a lot of what I do is reading. There was a study that came out that said friend groups that criticize harshly with each other, like making fun of them, actually have a tighter bond than
Exactly.
other friend groups.
Exactly. Man, I was sitting in Wings and Ale over in Columbia one day, and these two guys at the bar. I was sitting next to a guy from Iowa, and these two guys, they just started cussing each other back and forth. The guy next to me said, "Man, this is going to be a fight." I said, "That's not a fight. Those are terms of endearment."
Those are
Next thing you know, they're hugging each other. you
Yeah.
know.
That's kind of like us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
Well, I don't know about that. When people barely know about us, they come up and they think, "Hey, how long you been with your husband?" That's what we usually
I
get.
think we're gay.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we're gay.
That's a true story, man. He's sitting there like we were playing pickleball, and Cliff and I like it's such a serious group out there, right? And
Yeah.
like how we were talking about shock, we say shocking things,
Right.
So we do that out in the pickleball, and some of them people are just like, "Oh my god!" But you can see them giggling, but at first initially, but people that just on their outside looking in. They just hear a little bit and literally was
Hey.
playing a pickleball match and they're like, "Hey, where's your husband?" I'm like, "Husband? You mean Cliff?" I'm not married to Cliff.
Like you wouldn't pick a better looking
He
dude. than
wishes
Cliff.
we were married.
I told him, I said, "I'm not married to Cliff. That's my side dish."
I'm the top. Been by ass. I'm the top.
Oh God, that's disgusting all by itself right there. Oh Lord.
Now, what are you doing now? Like, what is your time? And what do you do with your time now? I know you're semi-retired.
Okay, well, I put my kid in the lawn care business. Bought him a 7x16 enclosed trailer, a couple of zero turns, all the equipment he needed
Yeah.
to do it. And I decided, well, I'll go with you. You know, so
Okay.
I'm not sitting at the house.
Yeah.
I'll help you. I'll help you get the business established. I'll help you keep your clients together and get your paperwork right and everything. So that's what I do with him. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm drawing caricatures.
So,
Home.
so explain the caricature drawing.
That's something I always wanted to do. I went by, I think, at the beach one time, and a guy, people sitting down, he was drawing funny pictures of them, and which I found out later on was a picture of you with the volume turned up,
Okay.
basically.
Over exaggerated
Exactly,
version.
exactly. And it's different. There was different techniques, different ways of doing it. Every time, I look at different people's styles, and I try to copy that style for a little while, and I'll go to my own style, and eventually you develop your own style.
Okay.
And I've probably got, I don't know, 20 or 30 those big sketchbooks full of pictures. You've got like 2,000 pictures in you that's no good. You got to get them out.
Well, okay.
Get past that part.
Yep.
And you can look at what I did 2.5 years ago. What I'm doing now is completely different.
It's kind of like playing an instrument. man.
exactly.
Or sport.
And believe it or not, muscle memory plays a big deal in it. With anything you do. If you draw a face a certain way, you know that's what you have to do. And everybody, no two people are alike, actually, when you're trying to draw them. Kids, kind of are, but, when adults, they're not, and I have a good time. I like doing it. I've done it, for a couple of people that, just friends of mine, and they seem to enjoy it. I'm getting more likenesses now than I used to. A likeness is the big deal. Once you get the likeness, you're good. Tom Richmond used to draw for Mad Magazine. He had a workshop down in Orlando, and I went down there for 2 days. What I learned from him in 2 days was unbelievable. It just lit more of the fire.
Right.
You go there with a certain ember burning, and then when you meet him and you look at the work he's doing, you go, oh man.
So
move on to something else.
So you do that, like I see them doing that at Carowinds all the time. Like, how much do those guys make? Is it normal money?
It's they commission, what they sell.
Okay.
But some of those guys are making buck. They're making bank big time.
yeah?
Yeah, because there's 2 of them out there that, man, I've copied every picture they've ever drawn and put on Instagram just so I could copy some of their styles because they're that good. And one guy, he's really good, but he kind of got fed up with it, wanted to go do something else for a while. I said, man, if I was you, I'd be over here making money,
Yeah,
But,
drawing.
he just, I guess, you're dealing with the public constantly. You're sitting there drawing somebody. This is the funniest thing. It's a girl. I'm drawing this little girl. And her mama's standing behind me. Oh, that don't look nothing like my daughter.
It's not supposed to.
I said, well, did you mean to come to the caricature stand? Because the portrait stand's down there. And, that just, man, it flew all over me. And I'd never had anybody do that to me.
Right.
I was drawing a picture before. And the little girl, she gets up and comes around and looks at it and goes, I love it, Mama. And it was her. It was her, stuff like that. I didn't.
Well, Steve drew my picture.
Do you have it?
I do have it, and I might add it to this. Throw it up.
I got yours on there too.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a second and look at these pictures.
Let's look at these.
You see, can you see that one from there?
I see
That's
that
the one Tom Richmond from Mad Magazine did of me.
Did you send them to? Well, hold on. Let's talk about them real quick.
Well, I can add it in.
Yeah, we
post.
can add it, but I want to look at them so we could talk about it. You texted that to me, didn't
I
you?
think so. But
me
you've
look.
probably got a bunch of
From you?
sex texts.
From you?
From me, of course. How do you think? You cheating on
What's going on here? Oh, let me see if I can find them.
I was a little fat in mine, is what I was saying.
No, I don't believe it.
Steve got like all 3 of my chins.
Nothing gets past Cliff.
These aren't it, are
especially
they?
carbohydrates.
Are these them right here?
That's you talk about comedians. Take another comedian's lines or something like that.
Right.
You can do that, but if you do the exact line, you call it a hack. But you can switch them around. You can reword them, and you have to. You have.
I mean, there's jokes that were put out, years ago, and all they're doing is just adding it to their story, switching.
Here's one of my favorites about weight. loss. I started this new grapefruit diet. I have to eat 7 grapefruits every morning, but every time I go to the bathroom, I squirt myself in the eye. I've been telling that one. I stole it from a guy back in the 70s. And that's just a good line.
That's a good one.
All right, so let's take a look at these pictures.
All right.
I got to tell you, that's pretty spot on.
No, it ain't.
You talking about Cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I told him to make me a little thinner.
He did.
Damn it.
And if you look real close, I did draw his privates down there in the bottom. You just can't see them.
All right, let's see. That's me.
That looks like either you or James.
That's me. But it looks like me. I might have had a little bit.
Look at that
I had
hairline.
one side. I had one problem with the symmetry on one side of your face, and that was something I did. I might have sneezed when I was doing that, but there's no telling. But when I draw somebody like Cliff, and both of you, I probably drew them 10 times each till I could finally get one I liked.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will do you guys a good one with the mics and all.
I do appreciate the fact that you got my 5 head, my rather large forehead.
Well, you have to exaggerate what you see.
You're not
We
exaggerating.
talked about that.
All right, touche. Fair enough.
We talked about
Fair
that.
enough.
We talked about the exaggeration, and the exaggeration is a big part of caricature.
I see no exaggerations.
We could go into the grotesque caricatures if you like, and then that would really throw you off.
Yeah, what we want to do is we want to kind of put them up here. Like we wanted to put them right there or up here somewhere where you can see.
We'll get you straightened out.
yeah.
I promise you'll get them.
So
Yeah.
I think what would be really cool, and I don't know how we do it. Maybe we do it on the next. Like we'll get with Steve and maybe we have like just a round table, and we bring Steve in to do caricatures of us during the show.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
That'd be very
We
interesting.
can try that.
Yeah, if we could set up a couple
The
cameras,
camera of like
watching him do it,
watching him while we're
talking
doing-
to somebody
yeah.
else.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, be like, oh, and here's your parting gift. Show them what we got. There you go. This is you.
You see, thanks.
Skinny,
Well, thanks.
this is a skinny version of me. All right. Well,
I was at January 6th.
Oh,
know if
you were
you guys knew
up
that.
at no,
oh,
Yeah, I was
no. Let's
there.
talk about that.
yeah. Let's
I
talk
was
about it.
there.
Yeah.
I got a call 2 days before. Want to know if I could meet the Turning Point USA bus in Charleston. Well,
Is that
Somerville.
Charlie Kirk's group?
Yeah, and I'm with the Bikers for Trump, so I got to meet him when he came to Airport High School. We escorted him into that from the airport. Well, I say we did, but it's what it was set up to be. But then week before that, I escorted Governor McMaster into Murrells Inlet to the Beaver Bar of all places, so they could do a political speech down there with the new Lieutenant Governor, who she's a sweetheart. Then after that, is when they asked us to come down to meet the Turning Point bus, and we went up. I was surprised because it came all of a sudden. It was like one day you didn't know about it, next day you're going. It wasn't like you had time to plan. So I'm getting my turnout bag packed that I put around I keep right here, and I had goggles for guys that I knew that were going to show, have bear spray or whatever. And because the liberals, they'll beat you with bicycle locks and stuff like that. So I had goggles and everything with me to make sure I didn't get anything on me.
Right.
And I was at the ellipse when the president was talking. I was there when Donald Trump Jr. was talking. He was saying something about they had given money to some other country to study something about transsexual something. And I'm like 3 rows back, and I said, "No shit." And he said, "Yeah, no shit." And if you look at the video, you can see it. He's responding to what I said. And I'm sitting next to Vernon Jordan, of all people, congressman from Georgia, who turned from blue to red. And in front of us in the front was Rudy Giuliani and Sebastian Gorka. I'm on the 3rd row. I got a silver VIP badge, So I walked into the thing with a leather jacket on and jeans with this VIP. Some guy walks up to me in a dang long wool coat. "Can I escort you to your seat, sir?" "Sure." I don't know. So I'm down there on the 3rd row, And then the president comes out and he starts talking. I kind of walked around so I could get a picture of him close. He was that time. And that time he was even behind bulletproof glass, which I didn't really think about it as much as, after he had the assassination.
Right,
attempt,
right.
You know. But anyway, while he was talking, I walked from there from the Ellipse to the U.S. Capitol building, which is a hike, I guarantee you. And I got up there, and there was a guy dressed up like Uncle Sam telling me, well, we broke in, we breached Nancy Pelosi's office, and I forgot what else he said. And I thought, well, I'm thinking to myself, well, why?
Right, right.
Why? So I go up and I walk around the side of the building, and there's a Capitol Police waving people in. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to walk around. I just wanted to walk around. And I went around the back, and I saw those buses that they were talking about.
Right.
Where they dropping the liberals off, putting MAGA shirts on a MAGA hat. So I came around, and there was people. Everybody was raising hell, but nobody was doing anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I walked around. I done walked a good ways, and I remember passing a food truck in the mall. And I said, well, I'm going to go back there and get me a hamburger or something. I haven't eaten for about 8 hours. I go down to the food truck, and I hear a flashbang go off.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, man, okay, here it goes. And I see about 10, 20 Washington, D.C. cops on bicycles going by, and I thought, well, it can't be that big of a deal. There's bicycles going in there. They'll be out of breath when they get there.
Right.
It's like this cop used to tell me years ago, just go slow. They'll beat each other up before we get there. But then these SWAT teams kind of started coming in. And I thought, okay, now it's getting good. Well, it's getting close to 4 o'clock. I got to meet my bus back at the Treasury building. So I went on back. We got on the bus. They started pulling out. Every road coming into Washington, D.C. that day had nothing but, it was cars back to back all the way. Nothing but blue lights coming from other jurisdictions into Washington, D.C. But the bad thing about it was everything was over. We didn't know Ashley Babbitt had got killed until we were on the bus over an hour. I got a call from a lady from Greenville News wanting to interview me for being with the Bikers for Trump at the time, asking me about what I thought about the whole thing that happened that day, and I told her everything. She didn't air 1 minute of it because I didn't say what she wanted.
Yeah, you weren't fitting the narrative that they were trying to paint.
It didn't. I didn't tell her what she wanted to hear, and I thought to myself, I'm just sitting talking to this woman I know for 30 minutes. She, and I got home and I'm watching the thing on my phone all the way back, and I'm thinking and listening to what the media is saying,
right?
And then when Lindsey Graham come out and made that little speech he made, really fired me up. It's like they didn't wait a day or two to find out what really happened before they opened their mouths,
right?
And now that they know, everybody still calls it insurrection. No, if it would have been an insurrection, we'd still be there in power. Right. And there would never been another election.
I was trying to tell somebody that they say that. I was like, most insurrections are armed. There's like armed violence occurs if you look at historically what insurrections occur. So the fact that people were kind of ushered in, and like I do think that it was trying to be painted in a lens to tell a particular story. Sure. It's not truthful. Like there are truths on both sides, but the overarching story is not truthful.
Mm-hmm. I was thankful to have been there. I saw what really happened. They can spin it any way they want to, but I saw what happened.
Yeah,
and I was more proud to be an American that day. Well, I'm always proud to be an American. Don't get me wrong, but that day was special because I'll show you pictures on my phone when this is over. You won't believe the crowd that was there. Mm-hmm. They said it was just a few 100,000. No, there was a whole lot more than that there, and I was so proud to be a part of it because we're tired of it. We were tired of it. Mm-hmm. Even though we knew how that election went. Everybody knows how that election went. But I think right now we're at a point now where we're going to put a stop to that BS.
I hope so.
Yeah, there was a really compelling movie I watched called 3,000 Mules. Have you seen that? Yeah,
I saw it.
You cannot not watch that and come to a conclusion that there might be enough there to really investigate what happened. Like it's just right there, which is undisputable. Like it's not opinion, it's data sources, it's locating cell phones. And anybody that talks about the election, I was like, hey, I always try to play I'm going to be the devil's advocate on any argument. Let me try to. If you're this way, and I may agree with you 100%, I'm still going to flip to try to argue the point to understand it.
Right.
And if you can't at least question some of it. No, I wasn't. If you can't at least say that there's something wrong here that needs to be fixed, then you got full on blinders and your head in the sand.
There is a disease in the mentality of America
Yeah.
that if you can't see that, then this country, there's no hope for this country.
Yeah.
But if you can see that and rise above it, we're going to be fine. That's the way I look at it. We're going to be fine. And even if things take a turn for the worse, we're eventually going to work it out and be fine.
Right.
Because the right people are going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And like one guy, I don't know who said it, but sometimes good men have to do bad things, to make things right. And I'm all for that. If you got to do it, you got to do it.
Right.
And sign me up,
It's God's country.
People forget that. People forget that a lot. But yeah, God.
We live in the greatest country in the world.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
care what
No,
anybody says.
let me tell you, I've been all around the world, and the problem with America is what they think is a problem is nowhere it registers on a problem anywhere else
You're
in
absolutely
the
right.
world.
It is not a problem.
So if your life is that good that we're making this minuscule thing this huge problem, what you need to realize is we don't have problems.
Right.
So what do we do? We try to create problems. We try to manifest a problem. So at least we can have drama. I really think that there's people that are addicted to drama. They have to have it in their life.
Part of that melting pot.
Yeah.
You gotta learn to work together.
Yeah. Like, well, I was military and being a part of that, I tell people all the time is, well, you got to where you're at because of X, Y, Z. Let me tell you something. There ain't no secret to my sauce.
Right.
I was in an organization where we all sucked. Like, it didn't matter who you were. The boss would come out and be like, y'all are pieces of crap. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Where are you from? I'm total different background. Hey, I'm a piece of crap. I'm a piece of crap too. Well, let's go.
Wolverine.
Yeah. I really didn't see it until I got out. I
Right.
started working in the private sector. I was like, oh my God, man, it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse than I kind of thought. But yeah, I'm hoping that the tide's turning though. Like I once again, I have a daughter in college. I have one that's going to be a senior in high school, and their teachers tell them these things, and so they think that that's it. And I try to tell them that that's like less than 1%, but it's highlighted. So everybody else really doesn't care about it, but they're trying to make it a big deal.
Right.
So you gotta make your own determinations. But man, what a great
was a good
show!
one,
Oh
dude.
my God, yes, dude, yes.
You rocked it, Steve. Listen, we will have Steve on in the future to get him to do caricatures during a show. That'll be very cool.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for all our TikTok watchers. We're on the slow approach to 15,000 followers. We appreciate you for that.
Wow.
Make sure you look at our other socials. You'll be able to find this episode at youtube.com/EHSA, Everyday Hero, South Carolina. Cliff, what else do we got for everybody?
Spotify. Don't forget on Apple Podcasts.
Everywhere.
Don't forget 988 Suicide Hotline. Thank your soldiers when you see them.
That's all I got.
That's
Let's
it,
roll.
man. Till the next time, we'll see you.